One of my subscribers requested I do an upload on using the clutch and indicator at the same time. Hello Kev, this is an example of that. I want to turn right, but I need the clutch in because I'm coming down to the junction. I'm already on a tightish turn. So there I pulled the clutch in, applied the indicator, and then continued to use the clutch as I came through and up to the junction. So there's not many occasions where you would need to use the clutch and the indicator at the same time, but it's usually as you are turning tightly and or slowly and you need to apply the indicator at the same time, or if you're in slow moving traffic and you want to turn left or right, you may even need to use your clutch at the same time. It's important to learn how to do it safely. One of the common faults that we see people doing is dumping the clutch to cancel their indicator quite regularly. Not usually to turn it on. That's usually after a junction. You also may need to use your clutch and indicator if you're doing a particularly tight roundabout, where perhaps you're turning right around the roundabout, but you need to slip the clutch to keep it tight, and you need to swap your indicator over from right to left to take the exit. And what you can't do is dump the clutch out to cancel the indicator or swap it over from right to left or left to right, because the bike will suddenly run wide and you'll land somewhere that you don't want to land. One thing which can impact your ability to do this is where the clutch is biting. If the clutch is biting too far out, it's quite tricky to be able to reach both clutch and indicator at the same time. It's not such a problem if the clutch is going to be fully in whilst you're using the indicator. But if you're trying to use the bike point as well as putting the indicator on, that can cause problems. So it's important that your clutch is correctly adjusted, so it's not too far out and not too far in. If it's too far in, then the clutch won't be fully disengaging when you're stopped. But if it's too far out, if it's so far out that you can barely reach the bike point with your fingers, well, you're not going to be able to reach bike point and indicator button at the same time, which is very rare that you need to do it, but sometimes you will need to do it. So here, for example, I want to change gear, put my indicator on, and then reintroduce my clutch. So learn how to do it without dumping the clutch, because I didn't want to dump the clutch in second gear then. The most likely times for needing this is when you're in slow moving traffic, either before or after a junction where you need to slip the clutch or change gear and operate the indicator button at the same time, or on tight turns, on roundabouts where you need to use the clutch to keep it tight. So I'm going to demonstrate that with this roundabout ahead. So I'm going to go all the way around the roundabout. So I'm going to put my right signal on, bring my speed down, second gear, hold it tight, cover the clutch, keeping it tight now. I'm going to pull the clutch in, hold it on the bike point, swap it over to left, and then we're off to take the exit. Now these bikes are especially forgiving with allowing the clutch to come out without the bike lunging away from you. The Honda CB650R, they are especially forgiving with the clutches. The MT-07s are nowhere near as forgiving with the clutches. So even as I came off the roundabout there, I was able to bring it out into third and just let the clutch through. On the MT-07 you wouldn't have been able to do the same. So different bikes will require different techniques. We're going to practice some tight left and right turns and show some examples of when I'd need to use the indicator. So if I imagine I'm in slow moving traffic approaching this left turn, I've got the clutch in and I'm pulling against the clutch to apply the indicator without losing control of the clutch. I'm using the clutch to turn, I'm on the bike point and I'm cancelling the indicator. Slow moving traffic, approaching the turn, pull the clutch in, indicator on, having a look, using the clutch to keep it tight, cancel the indicator, and in we go. Slow moving traffic approaching a turn, indicators on, clutch is in, reintroducing the clutch, need to cancel the indicator but there's still slow moving traffic so I can't accelerate, so the clutch is coming back in again. I turn left again, so slow moving traffic, clutch is in, hanging it against the handlebar, using the clutch. Clutch is now out, I can cancel it. Approaching the turn, I'm in slow moving traffic, I can't go any faster than this so I need the clutch in. I'm going to hang the clutch against the handlebar, apply the indicator, use the clutch to turn, cancel the indicator whilst the clutch is just on the bike point. You may need to cancel your indicator quickly if you're approaching a turning that then has another left turn very close to it afterwards and there's a car waiting at the junction. So here I'm on the bike point, I'm cancelling the indicator before I reach that junction, and then I'm going to pop it on to turn left again. So down into slow moving traffic, clutch is in, pull against the clutch, against the handlebar, signals on, hand back in normal position to use the clutch, using the clutch to keep it tight. On the bike point at the moment, I can't go any faster because there's slow moving traffic in front of me, so I've cancelled the indicator on the bike point. And that's just a case of finding the bike and moving my thumb over. So I'm freeing up the palm of my hand whilst using the bike point like this. Clutch in, on. Use the bike point to keep it nice and tight. Cancel the indicator. Slow moving traffic, I've had to pull the clutch back in, so the clutch never came fully out then. Okay, I'm still in slow moving traffic. I'm going to pop the indicator on, use the bike point, turn the bike, cancel the indicator, clutch back in because I'm in slow moving traffic. Let me just demonstrate what I'm doing with my hand whilst I'm not moving. The clutch is fully in. I'm releasing my palm from the handlebar here, and then I'm allowing my thumb to be able to move over to the indicator button, whether that's to turn it on or to turn it off. Then the hand can come back around the handlebar. Or I'm using the bike point, which is in about another millimetre's time from there. I can hear the revs coming up now. Here, I'm doing the same. I could be on the bike point, making sure that I'm still pushing down on the handlebar a little bit so that I don't lose contact with the handlebar, and I can feel my fingers aren't going to flick off the clutch. I can then apply or cancel. Okay? Have a practice on your own bikes in neutral. So practice pulling the clutch in, applying the indicator, using the clutch, turning it off, slow it right down, indicator on. It does help with slightly smaller gloves when you do this. If you've got thick gloves it's harder. Use the clutch, indicator off. Let's do it for some right turns. Let's see if right turns are harder because the bars are going to be turned the other way. So I'm in slow moving traffic, right turn. Makes no difference when the clutch is fully in, of course. Indicator off. Right turn. On the bike point, indicator off. Yeah, it's a little bit harder when you're on the bike point if you've got little hands like me. So let's try again. So I'm in slow moving traffic, clutches in, indicators on. On the bike point, cancel. Indicator on. On the bike point, cancel. Yeah, it's a touch trickier when you're turning right because my hand is extended further for the clutch bike point when I'm turning right. My arm's extended further, which makes my fingers shorter, which makes it a touch harder to reach that button, but I can still do it, and I've got really quite small hands. So practice right indicators, turning right in a big circle, cancel. Right indicator, bike point, cancel. Bike point, turn it on, that's harder. Bike point, cancel. So we're practicing both the clutch fully in, and it's hard to look in that direction to capture my hand actually. I'm going around in a right circle. Let me try. So bike point, on. Bike point, cancel. It's really hard to go in a right circle if you're not looking where you want to go. Oh, that's hilarious. So bike point, on. Bike point, cancel. Bike point, on. Bike point, cancel. Clutch in, on. Clutch in, cancel. And that's pretty much it. So have a little go. Once you're stationary, pop your bike into neutral and have a go at pulling the clutch in, releasing your palm and turning your indicator on, turning it off. Put your thumb back, turn it on, turn it off. Pretend you're on the bike point, move your hand over, turn it on. Okay, put it back to where it would be, out, back in, bike point, on, bike point, off. Then put your feet down, turn your handlebars, bike point on. That's tough, that's hard, that's not easy. Okay, bike point off, clutch in on for a right turn, and clutch in off is easy. But with the handlebars turned, when you're turning with the clutch on the bike point and then trying to turn it on, that's harder. So it's worth trying it that way, because the right turns are always going to be harder because your arms outstretched, the left's so easy. So give it a go, see if you can manage it without dumping the clutch to cancel your indicator. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Just be careful with it, don't dump the clutch. Another example of when we need to use the clutch and the indicator together is up here. So coming up to this junction, the clutch needs to be in, it's a little bit of a hill start, there's regularly cars coming off the roundabout here. We're good to go, but now I want to turn left. I'm on the bike point, I need to get up to the roundabout, but I don't want to give it all the clutch because there's loads of cars coming. So whilst I was on the bike point, I've managed to apply the indicator for turning left. I hope that helps, and I'll see you soon.